Though many know the names of Anubis, Ra, and Bastet, far fewer know of Wepwawet, Nefertum, or Heqet. Egyptian mythology is vast and wonderfully complex, but is rarely expressed or understood in modern society. Today, we hope to give you a peek into the depths of Egyptian mythology and enlighten you to a few of the near-forgotten gods. Our first god is Wepwawet, the Egyptian god of war. Wepwawet was believed to lead the way for the armies of the pharaohs. His name translates to opener of the ways, a reference to his ability to clear obstacles and provide a safe passage for soldiers in battle. Wepwawet would open new opportunities for soldiers to thrive in battle, and eventually he would open a clear line to victory for Egyptian armies. He was also seen as a protector of the dead, as he was believed to guide souls through the perilous journey to the afterlife, helping them to avoid dangers and reach the judgment hall of Osiris, where their fate would be decided. As such, Wepwawet was closely associated with the funerary cult, and his image was often depicted on tomb walls and sarcophagi, as well as in the Book of the Dead. His animal form, a wolf or a jackal, was also significant, as both animals were associated with death and the underworld in ancient Egyptian mythology. The jackal was particularly important as a symbol of Anubis, the god of embalming, who was often depicted with the head of a jackal. However, Wepwawet's association with this animal may have also had to do with its reputation as a cunning and swift hunter, which would have made it a fitting symbol for the god of war. Our next god is the goddess Heqet, who had a crucial role in the cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. As a deity associated with childbirth and fertility, she was believed to be a patroness of pregnant women and midwives, and her image was often invoked during childbirth to ensure a safe delivery. Her association with fertility also extended not just to human life, but to agricultural life as well, as it was believed that her powers could help ensure a bountiful harvest. Heqet's connection was not limited to childbirth and agriculture, however, as she was also associated with resurrection and renewal in a more general sense. In some funerary texts, she was depicted as a goddess who could help the deceased souls to overcome the challenges of the afterlife and be reborn into the next world. Her image was often included in spells and amulets intended to protect the dead and ensure their safe passage into the afterlife. One of the most distinctive aspects of Heqet's iconography was her depiction as a frog, which was a symbol of fertility and rebirth in ancient Egyptian mythology. In some representations, she was shown as a woman with a frog's head, emphasizing her association with this amphibious creature. An appropriate symbol, as the frog was believed to symbolize the renewal of life and the return of the Nile floods, which were essential for agriculture in ancient Egypt. Our third god is the goddess Renentut, who was seen similarly to Heqet, as she was closely associated with the cycles of agriculture and harvest. However, Renentut was more closely linked to fertility and abundance, as opposed to the cycle of birth, death and rebirth. As such, she was believed to be responsible for protecting the crops and ensuring a bountiful harvest, and her image was often invoked during planting and harvesting rituals. Renentut's connection to nourishment was also significant, as she was often depicted with a jar of food, which symbolized her ability to provide sustenance and abundance. In some representations, she was shown with multiple jars, suggesting her power to provide a wide range of nourishment to her followers. Her association with nourishment extended to the realm of the dead as well, as she was believed to provide food and drink to the deceased souls on their journey to the afterlife, and so her image was also invoked in funerary texts and on amulets meant to ensure the nourishment of the dead. One of the most distinctive aspects of Renentut's iconography was her depiction as a cobra, which was a symbol of protection and divine power in ancient Egyptian mythology. In some representations, she was shown as a woman with a cobra's head, emphasizing her association with this fearsome creature. an appropriate symbol, as the cobra was believed to symbolize the life-giving powers of the sun and the Nile floods, which were essential for agriculture in ancient Egypt. Our next god is Nefertum, a deity who embodied the concepts of beauty, fragrance, and healing. As a god of rejuvenation, he was believed to bring healing to both the body and the soul, and was often associated with the sunrise and rebirth. Nefertum was also believed to have a strong connection to fragrances and perfumes. In ancient Egypt, fragrances played an important role in religious and social rituals, and were believed to have the power to purify and protect both the living and the dead. One of the most distinctive aspects of Nefertum's iconography was his depiction as a young man with a lotus flower on his head. The lotus flower was an important symbol in ancient Egyptian culture, representing rebirth and renewal, and its association with Nefertum emphasized his role as a god of rejuvenation. Nefertum's youthful appearance, meanwhile, emphasized his association with beauty and youth, and his image was often invoked in spells and rituals intended to promote physical and spiritual healing. As a god of fragrance, Nefertum was often depicted with not just the single lotus flower on his head, but with a whole bouquet of flowers in his hands, sometimes lotus, but often other fragrant plants too. The flowers were used justly, as a representation of both his beauty and his ability to bring about incredible pleasure and even spiritual purity through the sense of smell. The lotus remains an appropriate symbol for the god of fragrance, beauty, and purity. Our next god is a particularly magical one. Heka was one of the most important deities in ancient Egyptian mythology, closely associated with the practice of magic and the healing arts. As a god of magic, he was believed to have the power to control the forces of nature and manipulate the world around him. His name, Heka, literally meant magic in the ancient Egyptian language, emphasizing the central role he played in the religious and cultural life of the ancient Egyptians. Heka was also closely associated with the practice of medicine and was believed to have the power to heal both physical and spiritual ailments. His followers often invoked him during magical rituals and ceremonies, but, somewhat ironically, during the more grounded and science-based medicinal practices as well. Heka was called upon for his power to protect them from harm and to bring them good fortune. In particular, he was believed to be able to cure illnesses and to provide protection against malevolent spirits and other supernatural threats. One of the most distinctive aspects of Heka's iconography was his depiction as a man holding a staff with a serpent trapped around it. This symbolized his power over both the natural world and the underworld, as the serpent was a powerful symbol of regeneration and rebirth in ancient Egyptian culture. The staff, meanwhile, represented his role as a healer and protector, as it was a traditional symbol of authority and power in ancient Egypt. An appropriate symbol given how much it closely resembles the modern-day symbol of medicine, a symbol derived from the Greco-Roman god Asclepios. Set was a goddess of great importance in ancient Egyptian mythology, particularly in the areas of writing, record-keeping, and measurement. Set was also closely associated with the night, the fields of astronomy, and with architecture, and was believed to be able to accurately determine the dimensions and orientation of buildings and other structures. Set was considered to be the keeper of records, particularly those related to the construction of buildings and temples. Her role in this regard was seen as essential to ensuring that the structures built by the ancient Egyptians were constructed accurately and in accordance with divine principles. Her presence was often invoked during the construction of these buildings, with priests and architects offering prayers and rituals to ensure her protection and guidance. As the patron deity of writing, Set was often depicted holding a papyrus scroll and a reed pen, symbols of her role in preserving the written word. One of the most distinctive aspects of Set's iconography was her headdress, which was typically in the shape of a seven-pointed star. This symbolized her role as the goddess of measurement, as the number 7 was associated with completeness and perfection in ancient Egyptian culture. Set's headdress was often shown decorated with a crescent moon, to show her connection to the night sky and to the practice of astronomy. We hope you enjoyed this glimpse into Egyptian mythology. Egypt was one of the greatest civilizations, and their beliefs were equally as great. If any of this has piqued your interest, then we encourage you to further explore the depths of this wondrous mythology. We also encourage you to view any of our other videos as we explore the other many great mythologies throughout the world. Thank you, and have a divine day.